All right. So we got some things to talk about today, right? Uh, and I'm going to nuance these topics because there's a few different ways that I'm going to talk about them in regards to creating what you desire to experience. And I don't want to impose any limitations. However, I want to bring critical thought into what you're doing and and how to move forward in the most sustainable way. So, if you are in a long distance relationship, that's not an issue. Those circumstances can change. If you are in a dynamic right now where you, caught feelings and a desire for somebody that's not taken and that was reciprocated and it's just kind of a difficult situation, that doesn't mean that it can't change. And we're also going to get into twin flame kind of stuff because I saw us talking about that on Discord. And I'm going to try and talk about that in the most non shady way I possibly can and just address it with a lot of grace and different perspectives on why I don't find terms like twin flame very beneficial and how that can send you kind of down a rabbit hole. Although I think most people that are here that understand self concept and mindset are pretty much on the same page about that, I still want to talk about it. Okay. So, with before we actually get into the topics, let me just look at the chat really quick. How is everybody liking the meditations? Are there any other, before January is done, are there any other topics that you want covered in regards to relationships? Like short little meditations, anything else? King treatment. Yes, I saw that. Hot and cold behavior. So, with things like hot and cold behavior, you are like a track like raising your standards is going to deal with that. So when you identify as somebody that always gets consistency, somebody that respects you, somebody that honors you, somebody that makes a consistent effort and they prove themselves with their actions and you see yourself as somebody that deserves to be pursued and creates the space for people to do that, you're not going to deal with hot and cold behavior. So that's going to be where when you guys are looking at the dynamics that you're in and how you're addressing them from a self-concept perspective, really look at, because you could do things like I never experienced hot and cold behavior in my relationships, but think about it too in terms of how you're valuing yourself, right? What do I believe about myself in this area of my life that's causing me to expect or entertain or get bothered with hot and cold behavior? Because here's the thing, when you value yourself differently, you're not going to give a fuck. Like, that's really the only way that I can say it, because that's genuinely how it is. If somebody tries to be hot and cold with you, you're not going to get negatively attached. You're not going to get in your head over them. You're not going to be waiting for text messages. You're not going to be waiting for them to show up, because you're going to know that you are somebody that doesn't have to deal with that. You don't entertain those types of dynamics. You have plenty of options. There's nothing to wait for. And so because you are identified that way and because you don't entertain it, you're going to see it doesn't become a problem for you. And it's also another thing too, outside of just a manifesting and mindset perspective, why that really works is because the way you handle situations when you're in that identity is extremely attractive. You're not going to be desperate for a person. Again, you're not going to be waiting. You're not going to be trying to force them to recognize you. You're not really going to entertain it. You're going to be a little bit more savage in how you're operating, which intrinsically on a physical level is going to be more attractive. So you're going to see that those dynamics don't really form because you're not going to be waiting for anything. For instance, okay, I'm going to use an example right now of hot and cold behavior, okay, from somebody that I was talking to. I'm going to leave out details, but I'm going to just use an example of kind of how hot and cold dynamics form over time. So let's say somebody's being really consistent with you. They want to see you, they want to hang out with you. You guys hang out 1 or 2 times. Okay. Then after, let's say, 2 times you hang out, they're showing up, they're texting you all the time. Then the third time they make plans and they cancel, right? Okay, fine. You want to cancel? I'll give you that. Maybe you got really busy, okay? But so they cancel, then they reschedule and they cancel again. Okay, so now you've canceled on me twice, okay? Then the third time they say something like, "Hey, I can come over, but tonight, or I can come over another day this week and spend even more time with you." Okay. And so I'm using an example right now. Okay. Again, I'm going to keep this anonymous. Okay. But when somebody cancels on you twice, okay, and you're waiting for them to spend time with you and show up for you, I understand maybe the first or second time hanging out was really good, but when you start entertaining these things and waiting for somebody to actually follow through and you keep giving it more and more chances, there's parts of you that believe that's the type of treatment you have to deal with. So even on the second time after they cancel it, I would probably be like, no worries. You know what? You don't have to plan anything with me going forward. Okay. Like obviously there's a lot going on in your life right now, and I don't want you to feel pressured to have to hang out with me. So I'm going to save you that time. And so when you are genuinely able to make time for me, that would be great. But I don't really feel like making plans with you right now. Okay. When you identify in that manner, it's going to be very clear, and you're not going to feel any sort of way with doing that. You're not going to feel bad. You're not going to feel like you're going to lose this person. You're not going to worry about where they're going to go, if they're going to want to hang out with you. You're just not going to entertain it or give a fuck. That's going to be where you see somebody really start to show up consistently for you again, or making that genuine effort. But I'm going to go on with that example again. Okay. So third time they want to hang out, hey, I can come over this day, or I can come over another day and spend even more time with you. You are somebody, okay, that you're going to know they are going to, even if it's just to see me a little bit of time today and then more time the other day, you are going to go out of your way to come and see me for this little bit of time tonight. And you also are going to want to hang out with me the other day as well, too. So you're not optional in that sense, right? And you could even say something, I probably, again, if somebody canceled on me twice and then offered this, like, okay, I'd probably be like, no, it's okay. We don't have to hang out, okay? Like, you're upset. And think about the long-term dynamics of something like this, right? You're just starting to get to know somebody, and they don't want to go out of their way to spend time with you, and they want to treat it optional. Like, no, you should want to see me tonight and also the other day as well too, and you should go out of your way to make that happen, right? Because you're pursuing me. And so what type of dynamic does that set going forward? In the future, are you going to want to not show up for these smaller things? Okay. But anyways, I'm going to digress on that point. This is where you have to look at the evolution of dynamics, because when you continue to entertain these things and then you're wondering, why do I keep getting hot and cold behavior? It's because you keep accepting it. And there's parts of you that believe you have to deal with that. Okay. Even in that situation that I just said there, I'd probably be like, no, you could come over tonight and the other day as well too, or not. It's fine. Like, I'm not going to force you to spend time with me, but like when I'm into somebody, I'm going to want to spend time with them, and I'm not going to put conditions on it. So if you're not like that, don't worry. I'm not going to force that on you. But yeah, do what you want to do. Okay. So that's going to be where, again, coming from how you're valuing yourself, you're just going to handle situations completely differently. So most of the time when you're getting hot and cold behavior, somebody is coming in and then they start pulling back. And instead of staying self-recognized and being like, wait, it was really cool to hang out with you, but you can't just cancel on me all the fucking time and randomly text me whenever you please. And I'm just going to be sitting here waiting for you, hoping that you grace me with your presence and your time. Okay. When you don't operate that way, you're going to see those dynamics don't continue to foster. And that also comes down to, normalizing getting what you want in love, normalizing somebody that shows up for you consistently, because then what you're attracted to as well too. I'm attracted to people that are consistent in my life. I'm attracted to people that make a genuine effort to show up for me consistently. I'm attracted to people that make a genuine effort to value me properly. That's going to be when you hold those beliefs and somebody tries this kind of stuff, you're not going to give a fuck. And again, like I was saying earlier, it's going to be because wait, I have plenty of options. Okay. Yes, I like you. Yes, we're in the formative stages, wherever you are in this relationship. Okay. But if you have a problem going out of your way to see me, then like there's plenty of people that won't. So yeah, I don't have to entertain this. And that's going to be, again, where you're not going to get hot and cold behavior because you're just not going to entertain it. Does it need to be spoken always? You can handle it however you want. You could just say, no, it's okay. Right? Like, again, here's the thing, you guys. So when you guys are asking me, how do I handle these situations or how do I say this? That's where getting your beliefs in alignment is important, because the way that I'm going to handle a situation through my belief system and my self-concept could be completely different from you. I'm a little bit more savage. So like I'm a, I'm a little bit more savage. So like I've had before, my relationship with Adam, I had somebody that was doing like a PhD dissertation and was like saying that they needed to do this dissertation, but it was like excuses. I could tell they wanted to hang out with me, but they were being like flaky and weird. So anyways, we decided to hang out, and on my way there, they were like, I don't know how much I'm going to be able to hang out. I really have to do this thing. And I literally, as I was driving, maybe 15 minutes into my drive, I was like, you know what? It's totally fine. Don't worry. I'm not going to come. I'm going to turn around right now. And I absolutely got off on the next exit, turned my car around, and went back home. And from that point forward, I didn't have any hot and cold behavior. Okay. I did decide that I didn't want to be with that person, but this is what I'm talking about. So how you handle it may be differently, but it's going to be coming from how you're identified, right? And it's going to be very clear to the people that you're interested in or whatever you want to create in your life, whoever's involved with you, that if they're going to be in your life, there are certain expectations and standards that need to be upheld without you forcing that on them. So it's not about getting super reactive and being like, you're doing this and you should be showing up for me this way. And this is totally unfair. I can't believe you're doing. No, it's just like, I'm not going to entertain this. Right. Like, if you want to come over, like you could come over both times. Right. If you really want to see me. And if you don't, that's totally fine. I can see it for what it is. And so I'm not going to force anything on you. Why? Because you're grounded in who you are and how this area of your life shows up. So it's not specific to a person, but you can create those dynamics specifically with a person, which has nothing to do with them, has everything to do with you. Okay. So when you get your beliefs in alignment and you're saying, I don't really know, I never know how to handle it, it's because you're not grounded in that way of identifying. So your beliefs create your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, the awareness, how you are perceiving things. So when you shift in how you're identified, you're going to come into those natural ways of thinking, perceiving, handling, operating that reflect that belief system. Okay. So that's where and I've said this in live streams quite a few times, whenever you guys ask me, like, how do I do this? What do I do? I don't know. The advice that I give is, okay, well, what beliefs would you need to take on about yourself or this area of your life so that you do know? So I always know how to handle myself in relationships. I always know how to respond in ways that reflect the worth and value that I hold. I always know how to uphold the standards in my love life. I know what treatment I deserve. I never have to chase after the treatment that I deserve. When you get those beliefs in alignment, it's going to be very easy for you to handle these situations in a way that reflect that, right? And so this is where, again, too, you may not be, this is where coaching can be useful, because when you say, how do I stop hot and cold behavior? Okay, I'm just going to affirm that whoever I'm with, I never deal with hot and cold behavior. Well, the only reason why you may be entertaining hot and cold behaviors because you're not grounded in the type of treatment that you deserve, or you're not grounded in your worth and value in relationships or how people show up for you, which really kind of has nothing to do with hot and cold behavior and more with the standards you uphold for yourself. Okay. I think it's easier to react in this way for new people we meet rather than long established dynamics. It's not. It's not. It's really not. Because you can change a long-standing dynamic at any time the moment you decide to change. You might be a little bit scared because you have a little bit of a history with this person. You might be anticipating certain ways in which they might not like, certain ways that they might respond that reflect their disapproval of this change within you. But once you make this change within you, you genuinely make those belief changes, you're not going to give a fuck. Again, and that's really the only way that I can word it. Like you're going to be more grounded in who you are and how this area of your life shows up. And it's kind of just like, well, if you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm no longer entertaining this. And it's not unrealistic. It's not bad for me to believe that I get good, consistent treatment. And if that really bothers you, for me to believe in my ability to get good, consistent treatment and no longer entertain this, I really don't care about how you feel about it. Like, cry me a river. Like, I'm just revaluing myself in ways that people should value themselves. So, but I can understand, I get it. There can be a little bit of fear, right? But that's where the belief work is really important. Shifting in your self-concept and stabilizing in your nervous system is going to put you in the position to be able to do that in a regulated way that is very grounded in that identity, which is why you're not going to kind of fall back or doubt yourself. Like somebody today wrote a question on my raising your standards short meditation. And they're like, is this going to help me if I want my partner to mature in the relationship that I'm in? And I said, yeah, it would. I mean, you might be a little bit savage, right? Once you take on these beliefs and this way of identifying, but you're going to, as long as you know what you're doing, you're going to be okay. And as long as you don't doubt yourself, right? So you're going to get what you continue to accept, and what you continue to accept is a byproduct of who you believe you are and what you believe about a particular area of your life. For those things to change, you need to change. And how other people feel about it, they can adjust, right? So if they want to continue to get away with treating you in ways that aren't good, and they expect that to be a normalized thing, and for you to give that no pushback, that's kind of funny, right? Like, so I'm going to be worried that you don't like me revaluing myself and actually knowing I deserve good treatment. And I'm supposed to be intimidated or fall back because you're in disapproval of my new way of valuing myself. Like, I'm supposed to feel bad for that. That's pretty funny, right? So as long as you can maintain that awareness, then you're not going to necessarily feel bad. Okay. Oh, I want to talk about this as well today. When you are, I didn't put it in the title. I don't know if we're going to have time to get to this. When you are revaluing yourself and maybe friends are being a little cockroachy. But I don't know if we're going to be able to get to that topic, because the ones that I want to talk about in the title might take a little bit of time. If I can, I will. Okay. So let's talk about the things that I have written here. I'm going to leave twin flames for the end. Oh my God, I can't even. Okay, I'm going to leave that one for the end. Okay. That one deserves a whole fan. Now, when we are talking about long distance relationships and people that are married, before I get into these topics, I'm going to break this up into two categories. Okay. I'm going to break it. The first category is people that have a historical pattern of always being in long distance relationships, or a historical pattern of only being attracted to people that are married or in relationships. That's group one. Okay. Because the talk that I'm going to have with those people is going to be completely different from group two. Okay. So group two is going to be somebody that, just happens to be in a long distance relationship, right? circumstances just kind of change. And so it's temporary, right? And we just want to maintain a good mindset and persist and create a different dynamic that doesn't include this distance, okay? Or somebody that finds themselves in a situation where they kind of how do I say this? How do I word this properly? Where they develop feelings for somebody that's not single, but that was a mutual thing, and the person that they have feelings for is in a situation that is undesirable, and and they genuinely want to get out of that situation. They're not playing games with you, but it's a little bit messy because of the intricacies of the relationship that they're in, and they're having a hard time leaving. Okay, so there's two groups of people there, right? Is an hour a long distance? I don't think an hour is necessarily a long distance. To me, long distance would be like you need to get on a plane, right? Like an hour is really not that big of a deal. Okay, you could see somebody very consistently even with an hour. So like when I'm talking long distance, I'm talking, maybe a few states away or countries away, something where, seeing each other is more on it's almost like a vacation relationship, right? So you get small time periods where you see each other. Okay. Now, group number one, okay? If you historically have a pattern of being attracted to people that are, or creating relationships that are long distance, we're going to start off with that, okay? Even though these two, like people that are taken and long distance, there's kind of similar patterns there. I'm not, and also before I get into this talk, I'm not here to shame anybody or make anybody feel bad. Even if you are part of this group, it doesn't mean that things can't change, but I want to give you some talking points to really think about so that when you are making changes within yourself, you can really critically assess yourself in a way that is productive so that you don't continue to experience painful things, okay? Because there might be some things that you are not conscious of that need to be adjusted. So when I hear people say, like if I'm talking to somebody or coaching somebody, because I usually ask people, what their relationship history is like, okay? Because a lot of the patterns that we have in our current circumstances are not just isolated to the current set of circumstances that we're in. So when I hear somebody say, historically, I've always been in long distance relationships, to me, that sounds like, okay, and this could be coming from a few different things, but you have had maybe a few negative experiences, maybe somewhere in your childhood. Again, I have no idea where, it doesn't really matter where, but somewhere in how you're identified in love, you have this conscious desire, obviously, to be with somebody, but have a difficult time allowing somebody actually close enough to you to be a consistent presence in your life. So if somewhere in your life, okay, somebody was, somebody very significant, you lost somebody very significant, or there was somebody very significant that was inconsistent in your life, then you're going to find that you have a tendency to be drawn towards long distance relationships because it caters to that dynamic in that similar manner, where it's like, I can have a relationship in my life, but it's not close enough to me to where it's going to necessarily trigger anything that I may not be ready to deal with. And I get to feel that kind of love. But again, I get to keep myself at a distance, right? And so it's really interesting because most people, when they are drawn to long distance relationships, or they have a pattern of that, okay, where each relationship they've been in is long distance, they typically have a desire to move close to this person, right? So there is a desire for it to be something that is no longer long distance, Okay. But you have to really look, there's a reason why you are drawn to particular things. Okay. There's a reason why you are attracted to particular things. And so when you are looking at what you're attracted to, think about it in terms of concepts, right? Do I really believe that I deserve somebody to be a consistent presence in my life? Am I able to normalize the experience of consistent affection, consistent attention, right? So even here, again, there can be quite a few things that affect somebody in their self-concept that cause them to subconsciously be attracted to and always creating long distance types of relationships. So if you didn't receive consistent affection or consistent attention, or you're not able to normalize the presence of somebody being consistently in your life, then you're going to be drawn to dynamics where, yes, you have that thing, but you're not getting that consistent affection. You're not getting that consistent attention. You're not getting that consistent presence, right? So these are the things that I want you to look at. And again, when I'm talking about this, I'm not saying it from the sense that, let's say you have a pattern of long distance, like being attracted to long distance relationships. And so once you change this, you can't be with a person. If there's a person right now that you're in a long distance relationship, I'm not saying once you change this, you can't be with them. It's changing those things that are going to allow for you to create the dynamic that you consciously want to experience, okay, but subconsciously aren't identified with yet. Okay. And that's going to be where you're able to move a dynamic in a new direction, right? Because from the vantage point of what I'm talking about here, if you struggle with these things that I just talked about, then, like, for instance, maybe you're not able to normalize the presence of somebody being consistently in your life, or receiving consistent affection, or receiving consistent attention, right? Then even if this person does, for whatever, the circumstances change and you guys are able to be together, it's going to be very difficult for you to accept that new dynamic because it's not a normalized thing subconsciously. Again, there's a reason why you would be drawn to having long distance relationships, right? And so it's about critically assessing that, because if you want to change this dynamic, and you hold on to beliefs or ways of identifying that reflect what I just talked about, you're not setting yourself up for success. Because what's going to most likely happen if you don't address that is when they do show up in person consistently, you're going to begin to find them not very attractive. Okay. You're going to find they become a little repelling, just like the people that have probably approached you in person, wanting a relationship with you in person, you weren't necessarily attracted to them. So again, there's a reason why we are drawn to particular things. And if you want to change these dynamics, that's what you want to look at. Am I able to normalize the presence am I able to normalize being consistently loved? Do I see myself as somebody that deserves to be consistently loved? Am I able to normalize the presence of another person in my life? Do I see myself as somebody that deserves to be loved consistently and receive consistent attention, consistent affection, right? Genuine support in person. That's going to be where, when you change those things, you're going to find you don't necessarily even really have a desire or attraction to long distance relationships anymore. But it also creates the possibility and the opportunity for you to move any sort of long distance dynamic into something that is more in person. And you're going to be operating differently, right? So, you're going to, it's interesting kind of when I've seen people have this pattern, is like they want the in-person relationship, they want things to change, but because they don't identify as somebody that gets that, is able to normalize it, they materialize behaviors of like trying to figure out how to get this relationship in person, right? You're met with a lot of challenges. You're constantly getting triggered. And one thing that I've said on my channel numerous times is, when you hold genuine belief, you're not going to try and force anything. You're going to be able to know something, right? So genuine belief is equated to confidence, in my opinion. So if I genuinely believe something, I'm going to know something's going to unfold. It's a normalized thing for me. I don't feel the need to fight for it. I'm not going to get triggered at the sight of challenges or discouraged very easily. I'm not going to feel the need to force. I'm going to be in a more trusting place to just allow things to unfold. So, in terms of dynamic evolution, when you shift in these things within yourself, in terms of normalizing affection, the presence of somebody being consistent in your life, receiving love and affection consistently, seeing yourself as somebody that deserves that consistent presence, love, and affection, you're going to find that you don't try to force this person to be with you, right? You're going to be in a more trusting space of knowing that they're going to show up, they're going to do whatever they need to do to be with you in person because you're identified as somebody that gets that treatment. So you create the space for that to unfold without you trying to make it happen, which on the physical level, when you think about how that translates, in an attractive way, nobody really wants to feel like they're being forced into something. Okay. So when you take on that identity, instead of trying to force this person to figure out how to be with you, you're going to be in that more relaxed space of like, you know what, this is going to happen. I'm not really going to worry about it. I know you really care about me. And because you're taking that more relaxed approach, it's just going to translate more in a more attractive, confident manner as well, too, which is going to, on a physical level, also attract them to you. Okay. On a manifesting level, when we think about mindset, that's where you're really able to hold that knowing without contradiction. You're not getting constantly triggered. You might find that you lose a little bit of attraction to the long distance. Okay. But that's necessary because we don't want to continue to experience that, right? So we don't want to find it attractive. All right. Okay. So what I was saying earlier, though, is, people that are attracted to people that are taken, it's it is overlapping in the sense of what you believe you deserve in terms of somebody being a consistent presence in your life, the treatment you deserve, genuine love and affection, commitment. So, and I don't want to hear anything about, there's all the good people are taken. Um, there's no available people. I understand as you get older, yes, people get married, right? Yes, there are more people are in relationships, but that doesn't mean there's nobody. So we cannot just use the excuse that, oh, yeah, well, these are the only available options. Okay. So, because that's not true. Okay. Um, Now, when you find yourself attracted to people that are taken, again, I'm not here to shame anybody. I'm not here to make anybody feel bad. And, everything is happening for a reason. I want to provide this perspective so that you can critically assess yourself. But it's very, again, similar to somebody that is historically attracted to long distance relationships. In a way, you're attracted to emotionally unavailable people, people that cannot commit to you at this time, because at some level, that is what you believe you deserve. That's what you believe about yourself. That's what you believe about relationships in general. I'm not somebody that deserves consistent love and affection. Commitment is not a normalized thing in my life. I'm not attracted, or you could even have things like I'm attracted to people that are emotionally unavailable. And here's the thing, I know this sounds like nobody would consciously want to take on that belief, but if you have had experiences where the people in your life up to this point have been emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, not very affectionate or loving, or constantly, how do I say this? Again, inconsistent. I was going to say in and out of your life, but that matches inconsistent. Okay. Then if that's been your experience, those are the beliefs you hold about how people show up for you. Right. And so when you go into dating and you find yourself continually attracted to people that are not available, it's because at some level, that is what you believe you deserve. I deserve to be with somebody that can't fully commit to me. I'm not worth loving, consistent treatment. I'm not attracted to people that are able to commit to me, that are able to be emotionally and mentally available to me at all times. Okay. So again, there's no judgment here. And I'm not saying this, like, if you're in a situation like this right now, I'm not saying it like it can't change, but those are the things that need to change so that it changes, right? Because if at some level that's what you're attracted to, then subconsciously you're going to continue to allow that dynamic to be there and to form in that way because it is matching what you subconsciously believe, even if on a conscious level you don't necessarily like it, right? So you can consciously be like, no, I don't like this. I want this person to commit to me. While you're entertaining of it and continuing to be attracted to it says that's what you believe you deserve and what you have to put up with and the type of treatment that you get and how a man or a woman shows up for you, that you don't get consistent commitment, that people aren't emotionally available for you, they're inconsistent, they don't fully commit to you. When you change those things, then again, you're going to lose the attraction, but you're also going to step into a version of yourself that can actually shift into a different dynamic. Whether it's with this person or just, relationships in general, what's going to happen is when you revalue yourself, you're no longer willing to entertain this bullshit. You're not going to find yourself chasing after somebody. You're not going to find yourself pining away over them, wanting them to commit to you, waiting for them. You're going to be self-recognized and knowing, again, you have plenty of options, that commitment's a normal, consistent thing for you, that you get the treatment that you deserve without having to ask for it. And so because you step into that version of yourself and you no longer entertain these things or chase after somebody, you're going to see that this change in you is going to cause whoever this other person is to begin to notice that change and respond to it. And if you want to change that dynamic, it's that self-recognized version of you that is able to do that. Okay. If you don't address those deeper things, then again, like I said, you're kind of you're not setting yourself up for success, because even if that person did leave their marriage or their relationship, the moment they do that, you're going to lose attraction to them. You're not going to be able to sustain that type of relationship with them for the most part, because especially if you have a history of being attracted to people that are not emotionally available or able to commit, the moment that they take on that role where they try to commit to you and be emotionally available to you, you're going to instantly find it unattractive. And then you're going to search for somebody else, okay, that can't commit to you. And you're going to be like, I don't want to be with you. Then they're going to go get back with that other person. And the moment that they aren't in your life again and they're with somebody else and they're emotionally unavailable and they're taken again, you're going to wish that you didn't shut them down, and you're going to find that you're attracted to them again. Okay. So this is where understanding what is going on, being able to identify it and address it is very important, because until you do those things, you're going to get stuck in these patterns that are very painful and undesirable. Okay. This cup is orange. Okay. Again, I'm not saying that these things can't, we are just recreating dynamics with our parents in childhood. The situation is just like me trying to win my dad back from my mom. Yes. So a lot of the self-concept beliefs that you pick up regarding relationships, and I was talking about this in the Start Here video about 2 weeks ago for addressing mindset. For women, the relationship you hold with your father really sets the tone and the template or the belief system for how men show up for you. And then again, for women, I see that like their mothers really show them how to value themselves. Both parents do this too, okay? But there's a lot of nurturing, how to value yourself as a woman, the treatment that you also deserve as well too, how to take care of yourself, how to respect yourself, all those different qualities, nurturing, affection again. So when you're looking at relationship dynamics, it's not just isolated to that though, okay? Because there are some people that come from very loving households, and then they have relationship problems. So, they could have a good relationship with you individually and be a consistent presence in your life. But if they are, for instance, very strict with you, right? Or place unrealistic expectations on performance, then even if those things are coming from a loving standpoint, because there are certain unrealistic expectations placed on you, and and you're constantly striving to meet those expectations, that can negatively impact you and create a dynamic of, I have to earn love. I can't be who I actually am to be worthy of love. My ability to gain love is only equated to who, my ability to produce things. And so that can kind of lead you into a direction from a belief standpoint to be constantly overgiving, trying to win people, not ever feeling like you can actually be yourself. Especially if you're in a more strict dynamic too, you might have certain things regarding being able to speak your truth, right? If you're in situations where you were constantly silenced and told that you don't know what you're talking about, you just need to perform, then you weren't able to develop a belief system that allows for you to speak in ways that reflect your own truth, right? And that same level of strictness as well too, especially if other people are deciding who you are and how your life is going to be, it can in ways subconsciously show you that your wants, your desires, your needs don't matter. Other people's wants for you, their desires, their needs matter. And you're only good enough, okay, if you perform in a particular way. So you receive love and approval when you perform in these particular ways. Then your needs get sort of met when you reach this expectation. So I want you to think about, okay, how that's not going to set you up in dynamics, right? So when we look at hot and cold behavior, for instance, right? If we're getting hot and cold behavior from somebody and we're not, honoring our own needs and feeling like we need to do particular things to be worthy, and we're accepting things that we don't deserve, and we're silencing ourselves, it's not, this is why I say too, like, it's not, you don't want to take responsibility for other people's behaviors, but you have to see your role in it. Like, how did I get here? How did this progress to this point? How was I showing up? Why did I handle situations in that way that allowed for this type of dynamic to foster? Because once you take that level of awareness on it, you're going to see, how it got to that point. You're not necessarily going to take responsibility for everything that person did, but you're going to see where you may have been subconsciously working to your own disadvantage. Okay. And that also, the other thing that I want to talk about outside of just parent roles too is also society pressure, right? So especially, again, a lot of the relationship templates that you get in your belief system, they do come from childhood. Okay. They do, a lot of them come from your family dynamics, but they can also come from society and like experiences that you had in school. So like if you got bullied, or if you had any moments where you kind of struggled with your body image, and so you maybe struggled with your weight a bit and you got bullied for that, or you tried to change yourself in ways to be attractive to other people, okay, that is where you can see too, okay, maybe some things happened to me there that I need to address within my self-concept. Should you even persist in these dynamics then? That is a personal choice. So people can change, you can change. And, this is where I say you have to decide what is worth persisting for. Can you turn those dynamics around? Yes. But even with the like long distance relationships and the marriage, I said, the only way this is going to change is if you really accurately address these things within yourself, because once you make that change within yourself, you're not going to find this attractive anymore. You're not really going to entertain it. You're going to show up differently and you're going to set a new standard, which creates the space for that dynamic to form. That's really a personal decision. If you're at a point right now, though, where you're like, I don't really know what I want, I don't know if I want to persist, my word of advice is, if you have a history of being attracted to people that are not necessarily the best, or dynamics that are not necessarily the best, then it's still the same approach. So this is the brilliance of self-concept, is it's the same approach and the outcome is up to you. So you should still just focus on yourself and adjust these things within yourself, and then see as you begin to shift and change and attract new experiences into your life and people that reflect and confirm this new way of identifying back to you, you can decide, do I want to persist with this person? Do I want to open myself up to other options? Somebody was talking on the Discord too about how they're shifting and changing and people are approaching them. Guys are taking them out on dates. They're getting heavily pursued, but where's their SP? You, okay. So all of that movement, this is something that I've said is a very necessary step in creating this change. The change is about you. You're making this change within yourself. So until you change in how you're identified and what you believe about yourself in different areas of your life, you're going to continue to create dynamics that are similar to old dynamics you have with people that are undesirable. So part of it is, yes, you're going to see different people, places, and things showing up to confirm this new way of identifying. If you want a specific result, that's going to be where you hold that knowing. And honestly, if you're making this change too, you shouldn't really find yourself obsessed or super attached to a particular person, because you're going to see, wow, all these amazing people are showing up. Of course, I could get that person if I wanted to. I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to know that they're going to show up. I'm going to continue to embody this version of me. Okay. In terms of whether or not you should persist, that's a personal decision. That's a personal decision. Neuro-linguistic programming, some people can use that, right? So there's a lot of different ways to change your beliefs. You can do hypnosis. You can go to an NLP practitioner, right? You can go to cognitive behavioral therapy. There are a lot of different ways to change your beliefs. My own personal approach that I find really effective is nighttime recordings, stabilizing your nervous system, short daily meditations to address what you're dominantly struggling with in your thoughts and behaviors during the day. Persist, allow that change to occur. And once those beliefs sink in, you'll probably see you don't really need to do as much nervous system regulation, and you can kind of just use meditations as needed when you realize your mind's kind of going in a wonky place. Okay. But even in like my workshops, or in tons of membership videos, I've said, if you want to get professional help, absolutely do that, right? Like if you need additional support, do that. Somebody just asked, can you take antidepressants? If you are struggling, right? And if you are, again, like if there's a chemical imbalance in your body and taking a medicine is going to help you create a sense of stability within yourself so that you can go through these changes, that's not a limitation, right? So you can cultivate different things in your reality to help you go through this change. Do you have to go to therapy? No. Do you have to take medication? No, you don't. But you should take yourself into consideration. If you need that additional help and support, it's not a limitation, and it doesn't mean that the change is going to take forever. These things too, I do want to say, once you accurately identify what you're struggling with and you implement something to address it, you're going to make that change a lot more quickly, especially if you can word the affirmations in a way that is good for you. So for instance, with these things that I just talked about here, being attracted to people that are unavailable and having a history of long distance relationships and being attracted to that. If you know for yourself, you had some very negative experiences in your childhood, or you got bullied, whatever it is, whether it's family dynamics or societal programming, whatever experiences it was, if you know you had very negative experiences, then taking that growth approach is going to be something that is highly beneficial for you because your mind's not going to push against it as much, right? So when you're looking at things that are very patterned, don't just try and jump straight to new beliefs. Take that intermediate step of I'm starting to believe, I'm open to believing, I'm starting to accept, I'm beginning to accept, it's starting to become true. That's going to create the space for your mind to begin to adopt these beliefs that is more sustainable for you, where you don't push back against them as much. And it's going to allow for you to begin to subconsciously start to prove this truth to yourself via how you're influencing yourself, the type of music you're drawn to, what you are watching and listening, all the ways in which you're influencing yourself. Okay. Somebody asked, when you start making these belief changes, is it normal to kind of be drawn to different types of music? So before, you previously listened to a lot of sad music, and now you're finding that you're naturally wanting to listen to more happy, upbeat, you're relating to more, I don't know, joyful music, confident music, right? Yes. So that is a very normal thing, and it's actually a good sign. For myself, previously, before I shifted in my self concept, I used to listen to very fucking sad music. Then, like looking now, okay, like I would be liking somebody and be listening to songs about like how I'm gonna get my heart broken. Okay. So it's just hilarious because our brain wants to continually prove true to itself who you are and how things are gonna show up for you. And you're gonna find that music is very influential. That's why I have a whole on the Discord, I have a whole main stage music suggestions, and I just post like baddie music in there all the time. Okay, you're going to see that as you shift in how you're identified, the type of music you relate to changes. So if I'm relating to music that is self-destructive and depressing and filled with heartbreak, not that you can't enjoy that sometimes. It's not like you like if I wanted to listen to a sad song right now, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, something's wrong with me, right? We should be able to experience the different range of human emotion in a healthy, balanced way. There's a difference between experiencing that range of emotion and getting stuck in one particular area, though. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself. If you're only listening to self destructive music that is sad, depressing, has a jaded worldview, is always talking about heartbreak, you're never going to get what you want out of life, you're always left, you're always going to get hurt. That's how you identify. That's how you identify. That is what you believe about yourself in that area of your life. And you're using music subconsciously to reconfirm those beliefs. Okay. So when you start changing and how you're identified, you're going to see what you're naturally attracted to, how you're influencing yourself, what you're relating to begins to naturally change. It's like this for everything too. So it's not just music. When you see people that are successful. Okay. If you're in more of a lack mindset, then when it's going to negatively trigger you, you're either going to say, they did something really bad to gain their success. You're going to talk crap about them. You're going to be jealous of them. You're going to find that you don't relate to them. Okay. Versus when you're identified as somebody that deserves success, then when you see other successful people, it's going to serve as evidence of the type of success you can create for yourself. Wow, that's really inspiring. I'm so happy for them. Okay, that's so great. Like if they could do that, I could totally do that, right? And so the whole way in which you relate to your reality completely changes. What you relate to and what you consistently influence yourself with tells you what you believe about yourself and what you believe about this particular area of your life. Now, here's the difference, okay? And the difference between forcing yourself to change and making the actual change. And this is where what you apply is really important. So just changing the music you're listening to and telling yourself you relate to successful people is not it. Okay. Again, don't take physical approaches to internal problems. If you're noticing these things that I'm talking about, as you adjust your beliefs, those changes are going to naturally occur. So this is why I say it's not a trying process. Okay. Because you should not be feeling like you're trying to force yourself to be something that you're not. Yes, there's going to be some deliberation with making belief adjustments, but I've broken that down in a way that's pretty manageable, right? Sleep with the belief track on, nervous system regulation, 2 to 3 times a day, short little daily meditations to address what you're struggling with in your mindset. That's 60 minutes of your day spread out, right? And if you don't want to do something in the middle of the day, that's 40 minutes of your day. Breathwork morning, nighttime, meditation morning, nighttime, throw on a belief track, okay? Ideally, 3 times a day is going to be really useful. But again, you're an adult, you're busy. I get it. It can be difficult to kind of maintain that type of routine. So when you actually make these changes, though, in how you're identified, those things will naturally change. It's not going to feel like you're trying to be somebody. It's not going to feel like, oh, I can't listen to this music. I need to make better choices. Oh, I can't be jealous of these people. I need to see myself as somebody that relates to that. Oh, I can't do this. I need to see myself as somebody that does this. It's not going to be trying like that. It's going to be natural, just like how whatever you're naturally drawn to right now and you're relating to, once you shift your beliefs and that sticks, You're going to naturally be drawn to different music, relating to people differently, surrounding yourself with different things. And that relates to friends. I need to use the restroom really quick though. Okay. So give me 1 second. I will be right back and we'll get into friendships and twin flames and also the rest of the topics that we have here. So let's just take a little break really quickly, a little potty break, and then we'll rejoin in like 3 minutes. Okay. All right. Right back. I think you guys saw my leggies when I was getting up. Okay. Woo. We're talking about some deep things here. All right. Let's keep going. Okay. Now, just like I was talking about, if you historically have that pattern of being attracted to people that are in marriages or long distance relationships, okay? There's certain things that you want to adjust within your self concept to change in what you're attracted to and the dynamics that you're forming. So when you change those things, let's say you're in a situation right now where a long distance situation just kind of evolved and then you want to persist past that, right? It's not that you're necessarily, attracted to long distance relationships. This is where how you view things is important, right? And creating a level of stability and staying grounded in the progression of your relationship and being able to trust in your partner and create solutions is going to be very important. I've been in a short long distance experience as well in my relationship. Somebody was talking about too on the Discord, did I ever move to Italy? I'll talk about that in a second. Okay. I don't really talk very much about my personal life, but I've seen some people kind of questioning if Adam and I are together. And I think it's so funny. Like we only had one short breakup for like 2 or 3 months. But anyways, we had a short, long distance situation. And so that is where, if you view it as a problem, if you think distance is going to cause a breakup, one thing that I want to say from a self concept perspective about yourself is you have to be really grounded in knowing that you're not easily replaced in love, right? That you can overcome challenges and relationships, that whoever you're with is committed to you and only you, right? I understand that there may be moments of sadness and it's not necessarily a desirable experience, but the more you are grounded within yourself and able to cultivate a routine of stability, the more you're going to translate that into your dynamic and be able to get over this, right? So when you start spiraling out and you view distance as a real problem that's going to cause a breakup and you're not able to maintain a level of stability, that's going to translate into your dynamic, right? So every time you communicate with your person, you're always talking about how much you miss each other, how difficult this is, how much you want this to change, how much you can't wait till you see each other. Well, I understand those are human things to feel. When you are able to be in a space of like, look, I'm good. This is temporary. I know you love me. I know everything's going to be okay. I'm able to handle myself. I can still cultivate a level of stability within my life. And I know things are going to be okay. And you can just go about your daily life in that very stable manner and hold that knowing, that's going to be where situations turn around. Okay. So when I was in a short, long distance moment, I think I've talked about this on the membership side a long time ago, but people that have been members here for a while are going to know what I'm talking about. So I had one day where I was really sad and I went on YouTube and I looked up people crying because I wanted to cry and I didn't want to cry by myself. Okay, because I was really sad. And so I cried. I pulled up a video of another girl that was like, "Hi, everybody. Today, this is a different kind of video. I'm just gonna, if you need somebody to cry with, we can cry together." And she broke down on camera and cried, and it was very comforting. Okay, um, it was a moment. It was a thing. Okay, and ate Domino's pizza. Yep. So, I don't think avoiding emotions is a good thing. I highly advocate for you to process your emotions in a way that is productive for you and just making sure you're doing things for your nervous system so that you don't get stuck in them. And that uh, I don't think the live stops. So if the live stops, can you guys let me know? It's on. Okay, Trisha Paytas. Oh my God. You're on the kitchen floor saying you're a chicken nugget. Okay, I can't. Anyways, yes, if you want to have a Trisha Paytas moment, that's fine. Okay. But here's what I was really getting towards is, I let myself process my emotions, and then I had a, coming moment to myself where it was like, okay, this is the situation that I'm in. How do I want to respond to this? Like, how am I going, like, what is the result here? Right. So in life, and this is why I say your self concept, yes, you can get into a version of yourself, decide something's going to happen and allow for that to unfold and that creates, but also how you decide to respond to situations is equally as important. So, because there are certain things that may pop up that you're not thinking about, right? And how you choose to respond to it and how you move forward is either going to perpetuate that situation and make it a very real problem for you, or it's going to neutralize it and you're going to be able to handle it in a solution focused manner and actually create what you want to experience. Okay. So I had a moment coming to myself where I was like, how do I want to respond to this? I know if I continue to sit here crying all day, every day and spiral the fuck out and go into depression and dwell in this space, I'm going to be desperate AF. Every single time I talk to Adam, it's not going to be enjoyable. I'm going to be missing him heavily. It's going to translate as insecurity. I'm going to be just messy as fuck, right? And it's not going to be very attractive. Yes, I understand I am a human, but in order to, like, my emotions are my responsibility And if I genuinely see this as a temporary thing that I'm able to overcome, then sitting here and dwelling in these emotions and feeling defeated is not going to create that. So even though I don't like this situation, there are better ways that I can organize myself. So I did my little ugly cry with the girl on YouTube. Okay. And then I got my shit together. I started stabilizing my nervous system. I started developing a daily routine, doing my short little daily meditations to reinforce that I can create solutions in this area of my life. And I cultivated a level of stability within myself to where I no longer needed him in my immediate reality to feel good or to be able to function in my life anymore. And because I did that, and because I took on the mindset that this is temporary and we're going to overcome this, then when we did communicate, it was enjoyable. I was able to show up in a very stable, self recognized way that was confident in the progression of the relationship from a grounded space that also translated and created a confidence in him and our relationship as well too. Okay. So when you find yourself in difficult situations, this is why I had to break this up into two different groups because it's kind of, different approaches, right? That's where how you choose to respond to things is very important. And having a grasp on yourself and deciding who you are and what you believe about different areas of your life is important. And how you pick yourself up and how you choose to respond is important. Because I did that, one, I honored my emotions, so I didn't run from anything. But two, I got my shit together, screwed my head on straight, and decided to organize myself for success. That is why I am where I am right now. Because I could have very easily spiraled the fuck out, gotten obsessed, worried, anxious, insecure, thinking that the relationship wasn't going to last, been an emotional mess. And every time we talked, that was the state that I was in, which would have created the experience that I had in my relationship. So, how you choose to respond to things is very important, okay? Especially if you want to create solutions. Sometimes you're going to need to reel yourself in. And yes, there may be difficult things going on, but that doesn't mean you can't create solutions. So, how are you choosing to respond to it? And if you don't feel confident with getting to that space that I just talked about, what beliefs do you need to adjust to be somebody that can do that? And that comes down to you. Do you want to persist with this? Okay. If you really believe that this is going to be okay, what do you believe about yourself and relationships? Do you see this as temporary? Do you know that this person really loves you, that they're not going to be able to replace you, that you're able to create solutions and love, that this is a temporary thing that's going to change? If you really believe and know those things, are you going to, be sitting here dwelling and feeling like crap all day long, or are you going to be able to maintain a level of stability that translates into the communication and the dynamic that you have with this person that perpetuates and allows for that solution to arise? Okay. All right. This is group 2 now. Okay. So if you are in a long distance situation and you don't have a historical pattern of being attracted to people that are, a historical pattern of being attracted to long distance relationships. All right, let's talk about if you are attracted to somebody that you didn't intend to be attracted to and they are not single. Okay. And maybe they're not in the best relationship. I'm going to nuance this one a little bit. Okay. Because I think there might be two options here as well too. The thing that I want to say here though, with all these things I'm talking about, is the approach is the same. It's just understanding, right? So I'm giving different contextual understandings to what you're going through, right? But at the end of the day, the way to move forward is to reinforce good beliefs, decide to be the change. How are you going to respond to the situation? And as you make this change within yourself, how is that going to reflect in how you're handling situations, what you're entertaining, what you're not entertaining, how you're responding to things, okay? So the reason why I said there's two is because maybe you don't, maybe you've never been attracted to somebody that's not single before, but you've had quite a few negative experiences that have really negatively impacted you. And so the way in which you're valuing yourself and what you believe you deserve and how people show up for you may be impacted. And so that might be why you're finding yourself attracted to somebody that's not necessarily single, which again is not an issue. Doesn't mean that this can't change. But yes, a lot of the beliefs we pick up come from our childhood, but that doesn't mean that we can't go through things as adults that negatively impact us, especially if you have, long-term relationships that are shitty, right? Where there's years of negative dynamics, then that's going to impact you. Okay. So your attraction to this person may partially be because of those negative experiences you've gone through. Does that mean that you can't change? No. I just want to say that there so that, again, you have a level of discernment on yourself to not judge yourself. Because I think when people are in these situations, there is a level of judgment, right? Like you feel like a bad person, you feel immoral. Like, and people ask these questions in live streams. Am I a bad person for wanting to be with this person? Is it ethical? Is it like, should I take into consideration morals? It's not like everything happens for a reason. And so when you are attracted to particular things, then it's not because you're a bad person. You may have gone through situations that negatively impacted you on a subconscious level that formed some beliefs and ways of viewing yourself that aren't necessarily what you want to experience, which changing those things is going to help you move into a new dynamic. Or if you just decide you don't want to persist with this, it's also going to set you up for success to no longer be attracted to those types of dynamics. All right. If you don't have a negative history, and this is just, you met somebody, you didn't know, they're very genuine, they're in a bad situation. Okay. This is where, too, I think when I see people in these types of situations, there's obviously a worry about the relationship that they're in, right? There may be worry about people's opinions. There's some insecurities as well, too, right? And I think with these types of situations as well, the one thing that I want to say outside of just persisting with creating this is to be very wise with what you're doing. So I'm going to pose a very real question for you to think about and to be very honest with yourself about so that you set yourself up for success. Do people in situations like this, are there people where the person that they're attracted to leaves that relationship and gets with them? Yes, people, it happens. Okay. Now, if that person leaves you and gets with you, are you going to be worried that they're going to do that to you? Are you going to be able to actually trust them? Or at some level, are you going to be worried that they're going to find interest in somebody outside of the relationship and do to you what they are doing to this person? Okay. And you have to be very honest with yourself about that because you're going to want to say no at first, right? I already see somebody who's saying no. But when you're in that situation and you're with this person and you're assessing their character and you're seeing that they're being dishonest to somebody, going behind their back to be with you, unless you have a very solid self-concept to recognize and see that you are irreplaceable in love and that whoever you're with wants to be with you and only you, and you're able to trust a partner, there's going to be slivers of doubt in there. Okay. So I understand it's a completely unique connection. I'm not the one who gets cheated on. Okay. So if that's where you are mentally, then that's, as long as you're honest with yourself, okay, that's the only thing I want to say. To get past this, okay, any sort of force or manipulation is not going to be it. So you have to take on a mindset where that relationship is not a threat to you. And you're also grounded in knowing that you receive commitment, consistency, somebody that shows up for you, that does anything to be with you. And until that person shows up in that way, you are single, can do whatever you want, and you're going to allow them to pursue you and show up for you in that way. You're not going to be petty or spiteful or force anything on them, but you're going to know that you're the person that people pursue, commit to, go out of their way for, and you're not going to wait for that. You're going to live in the end of a version of you that gets people that show up for you properly. Whatever they need to do to dissolve that relationship, they're going to do that. And you're going to know that they're going to do that without you having to force them to do that. You're not going to check on it. You're not going to worry about it. Their relationship, they're going to take care of that. That's none of your business. That you don't have to check. You're not going to ask them when they're going to do it. You're just going to know that they're going to do it. And in the meantime, you're going to stay self-recognized and identified as somebody that gets commitment. Okay? If you can take that approach, you're not going to be waiting for text messages. You're not going to be dropping, like when they say, oh, I can only hang out on a Thursday because that's the only time I can see somebody where my person won't know. Well, if you're busy on a Thursday and that's the only day they can hang out, you're not going to drop all your plans to hang out with them because people go out of their way for you, right? They're willing to step up to the plate for you. You're not going to alter yourself in any way to try to get them to choose you. You're going to step into an identity where you get the proper treatment. Somebody commits to you. They make whatever changes in their life necessary to do that. You don't have to force it. You don't have to chase after it. You don't have to wait for it. They pursue you and you're going to know that. Okay. If you can maintain that, just like how if you can maintain distance isn't a problem. Okay. I don't need to force this. I know you really care about me. You're going to do whatever you need to do to be with me. And this is a temporary thing. If you can hold that knowing, you're going to see that really becomes your experience. The thing where people struggle with these types of situations is you get in your head about the other person, right? The relationship. You see it as a threat. You're worried about it. You don't know if this person's actually going to leave that relationship. You start sacrificing yourself for them. So they have all these weird behaviors and times and days that they can hang out because they have to hide shit. And so instead of maintaining a sense of normalcy in your life, before you even have the commitment from them, you're committed to them and going out of your way to cater to them. So they don't have to really change anything because you're taking all the initiative for them and making it easy for them to be with you in that way. Okay. And then you're trying to force them to leave this relationship. You're waiting for them and undervaluing yourself and hoping that they actually show up for you. Okay. So if you're doing any of that, that's going to be what you're going to want to change. Okay. Just be very honest here. When you step into that self-recognized version of yourself where you know somebody commits to you, they show up for you, you're not judging them for the situation that they're in, whatever their relationship is ending. Maybe they have a marriage and it's, they're in the process of divorce, whatever it may be. Okay. I'm not saying to be completely heartless, but you're going to know that they're going to pursue you and commit to you, and you're not going to wait for that. And you can talk to whoever you want to talk to. You can do whatever you want to do, and you're going to hold that knowing, especially because that's the type of dynamic that you would want to go forward with them, right? They commit to only you. They show up for only you. They're loyal to only you. Okay. Maybe they got married to the wrong person and it's just dissolving right now and you're the right person. So it's nobody to judge for that. And that could be the truth. But the last thing you're going to do is create a dynamic with them where they treat you the same way as how they're treating this person, which means you're going to be self-recognized and know that they're going to show up for you in the ways that you deserve to be shown up for. He's not choosing. Some part of me is always like, yeah, he's not choosing you because he's choosing her, so you aren't chosen. No, you're waiting for him. So you're committed fully to him in your mind and you're waiting for him and you're not choosing yourself. You're not realizing that you don't have to wait for this, that you deserve commitment, that you deserve somebody to show up for you consistently. So you're sacrificing yourself, waiting for him to commit to you when he's in this relationship with this other person, which is why he's not showing up for you consistently. Okay. So until you genuinely acknowledge that and are honest with yourself about that, it's not going to be a fun process for you. He can chase the fuck out of you and pursue the fuck out of you. You don't have to alter anything with your schedule to cater to anything that he has going on. And in fact, stepping into that identity and operating in that way is going to be the driving force that creates that dynamic for you too. Okay. So, and here's the other thing that I want to say about that. Okay. He's not choosing you, he's choosing her, so you aren't chosen. I understand. I've talked about this. That was beautifully brutal. Okay. I'm just being real as fuck with you guys because, like, we ain't got time for this. Okay. It's not fun either. Okay. So I'm just being real with you because the moment you change this is the moment things can really turn around. Okay. Um, Moving forward. Okay. I talked about this recently and somebody said something like this recently on another live, which was, I don't feel chosen for this reason because this person is doing this. And I understand that. I used to really struggle with this. I used to get so fucking triggered before. Like, really, you guys, I've done a lot of development on myself. I even posted today on my Instagram story screenshots from like 2018. Like, I've been doing mindset for a very, very long time. Okay. So I've been through the trenches. That's why I can speak on a lot of different things. All right. So I used to get very triggered by people, and I can understand the level of frustration that people have when they hear things like, don't focus on the 3D, right? Decide within yourself. And I'm like, I again, I've really expressed my position on that. I don't think you have to ignore that 3D. I don't even like calling it the 3D. Like, there should be no differentiation like that. Okay. You're creating your life. 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 70D, 80D, 69D. I don't care what D it is. It's just this moment. Who are you being? What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe about this area of your life? What are you entertaining in your mind? And how are you handling shit in your life? That's it. Take all these D's out of it except the one D you want. Okay. All right. So, anyways, moving forward from that, okay. I used to get very triggered by people, and there's only one way that I can say this, which is, if you are continuing to look out into your physical reality to decide who you are, you're working to your own disadvantage. I understand that it's very hurtful when you're in situations where people aren't showing up for you properly, or you're in situations that are not desirable. You don't need to take on a mindset of, I have to ignore this. This doesn't exist. Okay. My approach, the one that's like really worked for me and what I advocate for on my channel, is you want to get into a version of yourself where you can see things that are undesirable, but you're taking on an identity that doesn't relate to it. So you can handle it in a regulated way. You can entertain what you want to experience in your mind. You can handle these situations, hold a knowing, and allow for that to unfold. Okay. So what you're doing with that statement right there was, I'm not chosen because he's not choosing me. I can't believe that I can get what I want because this one person is deciding that is who I am. I want you to really think about that. And I think this is a byproduct of being so used to externally being, like growing up, you're taught to look to other people to define who you are, right? Like, you go to school and you look to a teacher to tell you whether or not you get something right. You look to your parents to tell you whether or not you can or can't do something. You look to your boss to tell you whether or not you can or cannot do something. Okay. So I think from a societal standpoint, just in general, we've been subconsciously programmed to look to our external reality as an indicator for who we are, our abilities, and what we create in our life. So I don't hold any judgment towards people that say these types of things. But I'm here to tell you that As long as you operate that way, you're operating at a disadvantage to yourself. You have to decide who you are. No particular man or woman is special enough to decide whether or not you are chosen in a relationship. And again, I don't even really like that approach. You do the choosing, okay? You're the prize, but we'll get you there, okay? We're moving our way there, all right? So I understand it's hurtful, again, because there's been situations where people have not chosen me and it would be very painful for me. But I had to decide who I was. This is why self-concept is so important. You have to decide who you are and how things show up for you. So, for instance, I'm gonna just like simplify this, okay? Somebody that wins in life, okay? Do they become a winner or do they decide they're a winner first? People that are successful, do they just become successful or do they decide that they're a successful person first? Everything is deliberate, okay? Nothing's by accident. There's a reason for everything. So, and this is really what, like, in my opinion, what Neville Goddard is pointing towards. I am. Who am I? What do I believe about myself? My imagination creates my reality. The self-concept that I exist in, people are reflecting that back to me. So if I'm always waiting for people to tell me who I am to decide that I can be successful, and I'm operating from a version of myself that doesn't identify as successful, and so now I'm in dynamics that don't reflect success, then I'm getting constant evidences and proof that I'm not a successful person. So how do I change that? If I'm so conditioned to looking to my external reality to tell me who I am, then I'm always going to be confined to my external circumstances, my immediate reality. In order to elevate above my immediate reality, I have to stop identifying with it and I have to start to decide who I am, what I believe about myself, and what I believe about different areas of my life. And as I take on that self-concept and I take on that identity, I will begin to show up differently, respond differently, form new awarenesses, be able to hold desired outcomes in my mind, and be in an identity that handles situations in a new way, entertaining new outcomes, and creates those outcomes. And so if you are waiting for this person to show up to validate things that you need to decide about yourself, you're always going to be waiting. It has absolutely nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with them. Okay? That's why self-concept is important. All right. Okay. So we talked about a few things. Okay. I left my favorite topic for the end. Okay. Which is twin flames. Jesus. Oh man. I don't know if I can do this one without being petty. And I'm not ready to talk about Nikki and Megan yet, okay? I'm not ready to talk about it yet. I know my girl. I need to see things unfold a little bit more before I form an opinion on that, all right? It's looking a little messy. Okay? So I can't go on Twitter without seeing about it. I can't go anywhere without hearing about Bigfoot and Hiss. I can't get the statement "lying on your mama" out my mind. it's messy. Okay, it's messy, and I really love Nikki, and as well of a she's really built herself up. And a part of rap, I know I'm not talking about Twin Flames yet, okay? A part of rap culture is beefing and diss songs, and I don't think some of the general public is necessarily ready for that or understands that aspect of that culture. But sometimes, Nikki is a very smart woman, and so I know she plays chess. So I'm going to remain quiet and just observe that before I speak on it. Okay? Because that I have a suspicion there's probably a lot of things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. And I don't know if Bigfoot is really I think it's maybe more of a trolling song. Okay. And I think she's making very strategic moves. And so that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay. All right. As far as Twin Flames, okay. I think a lot of people get sucked into twin flame type of content because they start seeing evidences of manifestation. Okay. Meaning they have experiences with a person where that person, like will say things that they're thinking back to them. Right. So you guys hear about this in like law of assumption communities and manifestation content. Yes, you can manifest people to say things to you. I've been seeing a lot of people talking on the success tab about guys showing up saying word for word the affirmations they've been doing. So this kind of relates to like consciousness in general. Okay, like we are all connected, we all come from the same source, and we have the ability to manifest things into our life. Okay, and to me, it's a natural thing that we're always doing. So, whatever you're dominantly entertaining, whatever you believe about yourself, whatever's going on in your mind, you're going to see that your reality does reflect that back to you. Okay. You are the one creating your life. How you define yourself and how you define different areas of your life and what you believe is going to be how you show up, what you mentally entertain, and the situations that you find naturally evolve. You're always manifesting. Okay. It's not anything that you're learning to do. It's just become aware. It's about becoming aware of your mind and deciding to build a life more deliberately and remove belief systems and ways of identifying and operating that no longer serve the life you want to create. So I think a lot of people get into the twin flame stuff because one, there's a few reasons. Okay. They see some things reflected back. So the person maybe does some things that are very like, wow, you are saying exactly what I'm thinking. This is such a unique connection, right? And they may also have some unaddressed things within their self concept that cause them to form very, very, very negative attachments, right? And so this kind of relates to the nervous system regulation video that I did, okay? Where if you are in very, very negative situations, you've normalized that feeling state, okay? So let me, so let's say you grow up in situations where you're neglected, ignored, you don't receive affection, and that's become your normal, right? So when that initially occurs, it's very painful, but over time, your body normalizes that experience, right? And so the pain is still there, it's just normalized, right? Your body has adapted to that feeling state. So when somebody comes into your life and gives you a little bit of love or a little bit of attention or affection, again, you guys have to really watch. I have to break this down in so many different ways. Okay. So this is where watching the combination of my content is going to be really useful because for me to explain this, it would take me a good minute. Okay. So I'm trying to summarize it in a way to get to the main points here. When you normalize those feeling states and then somebody comes in giving you love, you can form a very negative attachment because those feelings are heightened. So in an experience where you're neglected or you don't get consistency or love, and that's not ingrained within you, you're not self-generating those feeling states, right? Certain needs weren't met, so you externalize those feeling states. You perceive as though people, places, and things are giving you those feelings. Whereas if you are raised in an environment where your needs are met, where you're nurtured properly, given the right amount of affection, attention, because those needs are being met, you internalize those feeling states. They're not externalized. You internalize them and create it as a normal way of operating. So when those things aren't met, okay, because you externalize love and because you have been in situations that have normalized not the best feeling state, you meet somebody, you see some things reflecting back to you because manifestation works. You see them saying particular things, whatever it may be, you feel a deep connection to them, right? Things start manifesting, whatever. And you form this heavy negative attachment to this particular person because they showed up in ways that were loving, right? Can you create a relationship with this person? Yes. But in essence, just like how I say in my channel, your romantic relationship is the physical externalized manifestation of the relationship you're having with yourself. So like the whole twin flame thing, when people say they're just your mirror, they like it's like everybody's you pushed out, okay? It's a perception-based thing. Yes, we're all connected, we can create things, but if you are if you think that your twin flame is gonna go like you have to save this person or like they're your mirror, so how do you get them to change? You're not understanding how to make these adjustments. Okay. If you're waiting for them to show up to be able to feel love, you're externalizing love. It's all again about being the change. The thing with twin flames though is people get wrapped up into tarot and then like they form these heavy, deep obsessions for this person and spiral out and wait for this person, cut themselves off from happiness and go down a dark rabbit hole of trying to go on this divine mission to rescue this person when the whole premise is you need to establish love within yourself. You need to build good beliefs about yourself. Anybody can be your twin flame. You can create whatever you want to create. Okay. If you want to be with a particular person, you can create that, but you don't have to throw a label like twin flame on it. Okay. It's all about realizing it's the relationship you have with yourself. So if you are externalizing love and chasing after a person and using tarot card videos to figure out whether or not they're going to be with you or love you, and you're waiting for this person to show up for you to finally be happy, it's not going to be a joyful experience for you. Okay. To me, when people have these twin flame experiences, it wakes them up to realizing the changes they need to make within themselves. Okay. So instead of chasing after a person, that is where you want to look at what do I need to adjust within myself? Okay. Yes, this person came into my life, but can I normalize the experience of somebody that I am attracted to and love being in my life? Do I see myself as somebody that deserves love? Am I able to normalize love as a consistent thing within me? Can I create a level of stability within myself that can maintain a relationship? To me, a lot of people that go towards like the twin flame stuff have unaddressed traumas and negative attachments, and they're chasing after people and trying to change people when it doesn't really make sense. It's like, it's the same thing. Nobody to change but self. So in that kind of community, which again, I haven't looked at this stuff in a very long time. Okay. So I'm just kind of speaking on it from memory. If they're your mirror, right, or your twin flame, then why are you focused on trying to change them or rescue them or get them? If they're your mirror, then the focus should be on you, loving you, showing up for you, knowing who you are and how things show up in your life. And if you want to be with this particular person, you can know that that's going to happen, but it's about being the change. So my whole thing with twin flame is it's a hot fucking mess. Like, you can create a relationship with whoever you want to create a relationship with. Okay. People create specific results in their life all the time. You don't have to think of them as a twin flame, a soulmate. It doesn't fucking matter. It really doesn't matter. You don't need to consult tarot cards or crystals. Like, who are you? What do you believe about yourself? Are you mentally, emotionally secure enough to create a relationship? Are you emotionally balanced enough to sustain a relationship? And do you hold beliefs about yourself, relationships, men, these different areas of your life that are conducive to creating a healthy dynamic that is sustainable? That's it. If you can do those things, then believing that you can be with this person is not going to be a problem. You're not going to find yourself super negatively attached. You're not going to feel like you have to go on this divine mission to raise your frequency to save the planet. Okay. And you're going to be able to create loving connections that are sane. Okay. So that's the nicest way I can say that. Okay. And so, as far as all of that, okay. Ooh, that's the nicest way I could say it. Okay, that's the nicest way I could say it. Okay. And so yeah, don't get sucked into that. Like, and if somebody's like, you're my twin flame, okay, you really like me. Honestly, if somebody mutters that word, I would just be like, you'd not just say that. Okay. You really like me. Okay, we can just keep it there. We can just keep it there. Somebody asked, should you focus purely on self-concept without focusing on a specific outcome? I've said this in videos quite a few times. When you shift in your beliefs, you're going to be able to entertain specific outcomes without contradiction. You're going to be able to normalize creating that experience. Okay. Just like how whatever identity you're in right now, you are having natural thoughts, visuals, whatever popping up in your mind, right? Some of you are struggling with things in your mind that you don't want to be, that you don't want there. When you change in your self-concept, you're going to naturally have those thoughts, visuals, whatever ways of viewing your reality that are in alignment with what you want to experience and also in alignment with the belief system you hold. So when you're shifting your self-concept, do you have to focus solely on self-concept? No, I've said this before too. Like if you want to entertain something in your mind and it feels good, do it, right? If it's enjoyable for you, do it. Do you have to? No, because your like with what you've created in your life so far, you didn't have to do techniques to create that. You just had a belief system and a way of identifying that naturally brought about those circumstances. So if you understand that, then you'll also understand when you shift in your self-concept, you'll naturally have, just in the same way, you'll naturally create new sets of circumstances that reflect that identity. And yes, you can create specific things in your life. Do you have to just completely focus on self-concept and you can't think about anything else? No. If it's enjoyable, like if you're just getting natural thoughts like, oh yeah, I really like this person. Okay, yeah, everything's gonna be fine between us. Yeah, I don't see that as a problem, right? But you want to see, and at least in my opinion, if you're really, really struggling with things internally, then give yourself that time to genuinely address it and go through that change, that internal change. You're going to thank yourself for that. Okay. And then once you've gone through that change, if you want to bring deliberation and consciousness and techniques into whatever you're doing, you're going to be able to entertain it without contradiction. You're not going to be sitting there feeling like it's unrealistic. You're not going to be battling it in your mind. You're not going to be forming negative attachments. You're not going to be obsessed. You're going to be grounded in who you are and how this area of your life shows up. You're going to decide what's going to happen in your life. You're going to be able to entertain in your mind, not get obsessed with it, go about your day and allow for it to unfold. Okay. So that's where I want you guys to get, because It's, in my opinion, the most sustainable, and it provides the highest quality of daily life. Obsession is not very fun. Intrusive thoughts, not very fun. Contradicting behaviors or obsessive behaviors, not very fun. Okay. Feeling like you are lacking something and emotionally a mess if you don't have a particular thing in your life, not very fun. So you can get into a place where you cut all those things out because you're in an identity that supports what you want to experience. You see different people, places, and things showing up that confirm this way of identifying, so you don't feel like you're waiting for anything. You've let go of old baggages or traumas or ways of identifying that don't feel good. That's also enjoyable. And you're able to hold the knowing and allow for that to unfold. On the journey there, can you entertain outcomes? Sure. Okay. My opinion, though, is you should really give yourself the time and attention you deserve to go through that change. Why are you, and this is no judgment with this question, okay, but I just want to ask this from a very non-judgmental, real place, okay? You want somebody to focus on you and commit to you. Why are you so hesitant to focus on yourself and commit to yourself if there's nobody to change but self? Right? And people are just messengers to your self-concept. Then doesn't it make sense that once you focus on yourself and commit to yourself, you're going to get people in your life focusing on you and committing to you in the same way that you're giving yourself that time and attention? That's also, with that question right there too, that's why it's not a trying process. Okay? Because you don't have to try and get somebody to want you. You don't have to try to get somebody to show up for you properly. You shouldn't have to try to get people to recognize you. You shouldn't have to try to get people to give you what you want. There are so many people on this planet that get what they want that don't try, right? And some people get really frustrated with that. Like, why does that person get things so easily? How come I can't? Well, they're in an identity that supports that outcome. That's just how they've been conditioned. It's how they were raised. That's how they identify. That's their normalized experience. So they're able to continue to create that as their experience. If you want that, then become somebody that identifies in that same way. So how long does it take to get there? It just depends on you. It doesn't have to take a long time. It's just about being strategic and making sure you're actually addressing what you're struggling with. I really, really suggest you listen to the video I did. Again, I'm going to reference it. Again, it's called Start Here, How to Approach Mindset. It's on the membership side. It's a live stream from like 2 weeks ago. Also, The Importance of Nervous System Regulation is another good video to watch. And the different forms of persistence are also a good video to watch as well too, right? Because I really cover everything there. So the thing is, some of you might have to take a growth approach because you don't want your mind to push back on adopting these beliefs, and you want to go through this change in the most sustainable approach for yourself. So if there's very, like, for instance, if you hold a belief like I don't get commitment, and then you have 20 years worth of experiences to support that belief, then jumping straight to I always get commitment might make you feel like you're going crazy, right? And it can be a very triggering process because your mind is gonna be trying to fight that belief from a logical standpoint. So this is where people say manifesting is illogical. It's not illogical. It's very logical. You're creating your life. What you believe about yourself and what you believe about different areas of your life is causing how you're showing up and what you're mentally entertaining and what you're attracting in and how you're responding to life and how things unfold for you. It's very logical. It's going to feel illogical though if you have beliefs supported by tons of experiential evidences to the contrary of the result you want to create. So it's not illogical to get what you want. It's not illogical to manifest what you want. It's not illogical to turn situations around. It's not illogical to deliberately create your life. It's actually very logical. You just want to take an approach that gets you into a version of yourself where that feels logical, which means you need to address things in a way that is best suited to you, which is where creating your nightly recording can be very beneficial. So for that example, if somebody has 20 years of experience of I don't get commitment, then instead of jumping straight to, I always receive commitment, and having your mind be like, what the fuck? What about this and this and this and this person said this here and this happened here and that person, and what about this and this? So that's what's going on subconsciously, which is why it feels crazy and illogical. Instead of doing that, take more of a growth approach. I'm starting to accept, I'm becoming open to the idea that commitment is a normal thing in my life. I'm starting to see myself as somebody that gets commitment easily. I'm starting to accept that commitment can be a normal thing for me. Okay. So once you can address what needs to change, and once you can identify what needs to change and you can address it in a way that is best suited to you, and you can build a good routine with nervous system regulation, and you can build enough consistency around that to maintain that routine, you can make this change pretty fucking quick. Okay. So, and it doesn't have to be an all day thing. You don't have to be sitting here watching every thought that you have and afraid of every thought that you have, and all, like, somebody wrote something on the Discord where they're like, today was the first day where I actually watched TV for just enjoyment. For so long, I've been watching self-development stuff, and I'm finally in a space now where I don't feel like I need to constantly consume self-development content, because I'm starting to feel good within myself again. I'm allowing myself to just relax. And that made me so happy, because once you begin to address these things accurately, you're going to be able to create that normalcy in your life again. And you're going to be able to create the results that you desire. And you're not going to feel like you're on this endless self-development journey. Okay. It's just about taking an approach that's good for you and addressing the things that you struggle with in a way that feels good to you, that is suited to you, and just implementing little practices that allow for you to go through this change. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Y'all got me for 2 hours today. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to post in the community tab what we are going to, I'm going to do a little poll for February. I have a feeling that February is going to be career. So, but I'll give you guys some options. All right. So I'll be posting that in the community tab here. Make sure if you participated in the accountability challenge for January that you send the results to the challenge email by tomorrow. I believe I wrote in the post by 11:59 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time, but go check the community tab post to verify that's the time that I wrote. And I will be announcing again the new accountability challenge later this week. I doubled the prizes for that. There's 1 day left in January. Earlier, I asked, are there any other meditations that you guys want for relationships? So, taking into consideration everything we talked about here, right? If you want a short little 10-minute meditation on something that is not already posted, then put it in the Discord, in the thread, the tea room general chat, and I'll be looking, and I will finish up whatever meditations people request that I can do in the next day. Okay? Overcoming fears of abusive men/exes. I think really, again, I think the revaluing yourself is really, or raising your standards. Also, the savage mindset that I have on my channel. If y'all have not looked at the savage mindset that I have on my channel, okay, that one, wow. You take on that mindset, nobody's fucking with you. They won't even get the opportunity to fuck with you. Okay. Um, but you can, if you have a suggestion that is not something that I already have on my channel, you can put it in that thread. Okay. All right. Love you. Bye.